Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Rundown here with Marcy, where we meet with top professionals in our real estate industry, and we got a show prepared for you today. Stay tuned. Welcome back everyone to the Real Estate Rundown here with Marcy, where we meet with top professionals in our industry. Today I'd like to introduce you to Bruno. Hi Bruno.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
all.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Bruno.
I was originally born in Argentina. I moved to the States in 2008, ended up moving to Miami in 2011, started working in real estate. As soon as I moved here, had at the time met a really good friend in college that was working for a real estate company here, and it was right after the big market crash of 2008, 2009. So they were buying a lot of foreclosures at the time. So I started working for that company. We did that for quite a while, bought and resold over 500 properties at the time. About 2014-15, the company that we were working for decided it was time for them to start doing new construction. They moved to high-end residences. They were doing a tower in Brickell, a tower in Lauderhill, and we felt that it was not the right market for us. We had a really good network of clients that were really interested in keeping investing in the Miami real estate market, but they didn't feel comfortable. In Argentina, we call it like a pre-construction pool, where you're like, just one investor out of 200. Yeah. Owning 1% of something versus what we were doing, which is they were owning 100% of everything. So we decided to split out and open our own company. That was Sarum International. We opened it back in 2014, roughly. We started doing the same, but we started focusing on outer layer real estate markets. So for example, let's say Brickell is a big market driver of employment, but rents in Brickell are too high for regular people that work on the service industry or different kind of jobs. So we would go to neighborhoods that are close to Brickell but are undervalued, and we try to provide housing alternatives that mimic the sort of Brickell lifestyle, but without the hefty price. So we started doing a lot in neighborhoods, for example, Buena Vista, which is right next to the Design District. At the time, when Design District was furniture stores, abandoned, and then I think it was the Louis Vuitton group that had just announced that they were buying the entire thing and turning it into the Design District.
And everyone was like, who's going to come here, right?
Correct. And half a block away from the Design District, they were selling houses at the time for $120,000. So
amazing. And now they got Michelin star restaurants there. It's
in our brain, it was like, how are people going to come and buy a watch for the same price that they can buy a house next door?
Right.
So we started buying up those houses, fixing them up, and reselling them. That's one of my biggest regrets, selling most of those properties, because now they're selling.
Well, you're in the business
crazy
of fixing and flipping,
But then we transitioned actually into new construction.
Right.
So we do new construction, but we do a little bit of high end, but not too much. We do a lot of multifamily.
Yeah.
Again, we go to outer circles of big employment drivers. Like for example, now they're starting to build the Magic City Innovation District. That's going to be a big driver of employment, high-end towers, hotels, offices. People that come and work there are going to need a place to stay. So we go to neighboring places like Outer Little Haiti, Alapata, Little River, and we try to provide alternatives that look nice on the inside. They're just not located like, in the middle of Brickell. But if I were to close your eyes and just open them inside of one of our apartments, you would feel no difference. High-end product. The difference might be that the high-end developer maybe brought the tile from Italy and we brought it from a different place. But
let me ask you. So, do you consider your company? Are you considered buyers? You're considered buyers, investors, right? But you also work with investors and seek out clients for investors and buyers as well.
Correct. So we have two different divisions of the business.
Okay.
One of them in 2020,
right,
or actually late 2020, we partnered with one of the largest developers in Argentina called Grupo Portland. They're by far one of the largest in Argentina, and they were trying to set a foot here in the United States. And so they partnered with us, and they had a lot of expertise in the construction area. And that's something that's really hard to find in Miami. Like if you speak among developers, especially small developers, because we're at a price point for the kind of product that we develop that it's just too small for like a big developer, the ones that are serious and would handle the project seriously as it needs to be. But then we're too big for like a small developer.
Right.
And we've had too many issues with small developers, with small contractors that say, yeah, I can do it, and then they misbudget the project, they fail to finish, they fail to pay their subs, et cetera, et cetera. So after battling with too many of them, our best solution was like, why don't we set up our own construction company? And we can supplement the development side, which is what we were specializing with.
Right.
Like our specialty was, we find you the opportunity, we buy it for you, we produce the plans, get all the entitlements ready, etc. And then once the project's ready to be built, we find you a builder that can build it for you, and then we handle the exit strategy for you. Whether you want to keep it and refi the property and keep it as a rental, or just sell it to an investor. Now we also handle the construction part, which was our missing part of the correct.
Missing part of it. Wow, that's a lot of information. What do you want the audience to know about you and your company the most? Like, what attraction, what would be the most beneficial thing that hiring you and working with you would lead them to, investment success?
So our company has never done any sort of marketing. We've always been moved by either word of mouth, friends and family. It's pretty common, especially a lot of our clients are foreigners, and when you establish a good relationship, they tend to speak to their peers about you. So when they're thinking about coming to invest in Miami, they tend to reach out. What I've noticed is that most investors, or most people that are looking to invest in Miami, they're thinking, high-end brickle luxury, I want the condo on the beach. And what's happening lately is a lot of people are saying, hey, I have, 300, 400,000. I want to buy a condo on the beach. And my usual answer is good luck. We try to provide them a different alternative, which is instead of buying a high-end condo and earning 2-3% on your money, why don't you invest in an income property that can generate you 6-7% on your money, or you could just flip it at the end of the period, generate some income, and then if you come to Miami whenever you want to come, you can just rent an apartment, whatever you want, on the beach and live the luxurious Miami life without having to
while getting income, right? Yeah, there's several different types of investors, right? There's that investor that's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that because I want to come to Miami so often. I want to use my apartment. But there's also, they don't know that there's an opportunity out there like you're talking about. These outskirts of these big, areas, the Miami District, Brickell you discussed, and there's a lot of little pockets here, especially now, El Portal. We can't tell them all our secrets, right? There's a lot of little, we can't tell them all our secrets, right? But there's a lot of little pockets here, and once they know, like, hey, you can actually invest here, earn income, and then live the lifestyle you want, with the money you have. Is that
the first few properties that we sold in the Buena Vista area? Yeah, we sold them for about $220,000 and $240,000. They were, I don't know, maybe 1,400 square feet houses built in 1970 or 1950s. But we remodeled them and they looked nice. We were just starting, so the neighborhood didn't look as nice as it looks now. But even if you drive nowadays, you still see houses that are left, unattended. So the hardest part convincing our clients was that, for example, in Argentina, prices are going up now, but at the time you could go to like a high-end, country club and buy 300 meter or 3,000 square feet house for about $400,000. So it was hard for them to conceive that I'm buying a 90s, 70s house for like, $250,000, $300,000. Like I can buy a house, and my point was, look, there's There's not a lot of locations within Miami that are so centrally that you have good access to the I-95, which is a main connector of the entire South Florida. You have good access to the Design District, to the Midtown, Wynwood. You have access to pretty much everywhere. You're in the beach within 10, 15 minutes. If you don't buy a house here, your next option to buy a house right now is Coconut Grove, where you're gonna have to pay $1 million. I must admit that I was wrong on my estimates, because I was telling my clients that within 10 years, maybe houses in Buena Vista were gonna be worth what they're in Coconut Grove, but we're already seeing closings in the Buena Vista area that are closing for like $2 million.
I mean, just the margin there, it was crazy. It's just nuts.
Just keeping the house and not doing anything.
Well, let me tell you,
investment.
sitting here today, you're a wealth of knowledge, and your clients and investors should be so lucky to have you, to even do all the numbers, to do the search, and just really have the faith. Because again, at the end of the day, we're a market, we're real estate, we have to have an eye for it, and that's our talent. That's your talent. You have to have an eye for it, and what you're going after doing this for a while, it's so important to align with somebody like you for investors and clients that have that niche. And you and I, we're the same thing. All of our referrals are also word of mouth and building relationships just like that, and that's how we grow, and our niche is international clients too. Tell them a little bit how important, because we're talking about these relationships, how important it is to working with a closing team, a reliable title company or a reliable closing team, because a lot of people don't know. They think they find the property and then that's it, but there's so much more to it. There's so much more.
After buying, I give you my story. We bought more than 500 properties, and then we probably bought a bunch more once we started our own company. We've run, at the beginning, especially when we didn't know anything, we run into so many issues, like buying properties that had a $200,000 lien because of, unattended violations or whatever, and not realizing, and then going after the title company saying, hey, you didn't let me know, and the contract, so it's 100%. I'd say one of the most important things is make sure you have a reliable title company that can guide you through the process, because closing documents are like 40 pages, sometimes even longer if you're dealing with banks and stuff. So if you don't have someone that can explain you the fine print, you're gonna run into some issues. So that's my best advice, is you definitely need to have a title company that you can trust, that can help you with the whole process.
Title company, partners, inspectors, realtors, just a team built in your business. So whether you're an investor, real estate agent, or brokerage, you really need to build that team to have that support of matching what you do, being aligned to what you do to provide that service.
Correct. And in what we do, we can't do absolutely everything, So at a certain point, you need to learn to trust that somebody else is doing what's best for you. And so that's the hardest part. If you need to have a good title company, because you cannot be at the same time building a property, buying another property, and managing title duties. It just becomes a nightmare. So, and it's the same with everything.
It's the same with everything.
The construction company that you buy, that you hire, the subcontractors you hire.
And that's a talent in itself, being able to let go and trust that your partners can handle that. Look, I'm not going to worry about this. This is what you do, handle it, So that's a very important part of it. A lot of people can't let go, get mingle and mingle. A lot of things happen, but partnering up with the right team and letting the professionals handle what they do is so important to having a successful and easy, smooth closing.
My advice would be that always check for references. It's pretty common in South Florida that you meet people here and everyone is super successful, they've been doing this for 80 years.
And they haven't been doing anything.
Yeah, correct. And then you run into a bunch of issues because of that. And so we've, had to hit our heads against the wall a couple times.
No, I'm sure.
We've learned from our mistakes.
No, I'm sure. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing so much information and a wealth of knowledge for clients. How can people reach you?
Okay, so they can go to our website, which is saxuminternational.com. That's SAXUM international.com. We can also be reached by email. My email is info@saxuminternational.com. If they need information, we're working also on our construction website. At the beginning, we decided to do construction just for ourselves. Now we're transitioning into doing construction for others, just because a lot of our peers that were doing development, they started inquiring about, hey, I'm also looking for a construction company. Why don't you build this for us? So our best way of contact will be either email, website, or I can also be reached by phone at 530-307-9864.
Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you for the invitation.
And thank you, everyone, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.